Hi, my name is Nikki. I'm 18 years old, and this is the testimony of the Lord's faithfulness in my life. So I grew up going to church pretty much every single day of the week. Grew up in a Christian home, was there every day except for Tuesdays and Saturdays, and on those days we would drive to Carlsbad and help take care of my grandmother. And so I was just really involved in fellowship in that way, just really connected in that sense. And around the age of 3 or 4, I remember I made my first profession of faith in front of my laundry room with my mom, just after a Harvest Crusade, wanting what I had seen that night and desiring to get involved in that. And so she kind of just talked me through it, made sure I knew what I was doing, and I did, and I count that 100%, but it didn't really start my walk with the Lord. It just kind of started my battle towards my walk with the Lord. And so I kind of grew up, just continued in church. I was a kid, I learned more about Jesus at church and connected in fellowship there, but around the age of 11, so in 6th grade, we decided that we were going to switch churches, that we were going to leave the church and we were going to venture out into different churches. So we started moving around a little bit, and for me it was really hard. I kind of got hit with this huge thing of loneliness, this huge deep bout of loneliness and anxiety, and I never felt that before, never struggled with that before, because I had always been at the same church. I'd always been in fellowship there, but because I had never extended outside of church for fellowship, I didn't know how to do it apart from that. And so just struggling with that. My mom was faithful and just praying with me and keeping me on track, but I was just going through the motions, and we ended up settling at a church really close to my house when I was in 7th grade, and I just threw myself into the youth group there. I just loved youth group. I loved being there and active in Bible studies and in retreats, and so I kind of grew my walk there, but I was still struggling with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression and a lot of just things that were weighing down on my soul. And so I kind of battled this back and forth and dealt with a lot of family members passing away, a lot of loneliness, and a lot of issues with that, of just not feeling connected to people my own age. It was around my sophomore year that I had kind of, gone up to a lot of retreats and let things go, and then come home and felt unfueled and unflamed again. And so I went up to this winter camp up in Big Bear, and this guy gave this huge presentation of just facts and understanding that Jesus was real. All these historical understandings and facts and evidences we have of Jesus Christ, and it all kind of built up to our afterglow where we were just reflecting on the things we had learned and reflecting on how Christ had moved, and everyone's walls were breaking me down, and I just sat there stiff, and I didn't understand. I remember praying, Lord, why am I not affected by this? And after a couple of minutes, I heard this still small voice just say, "What are you doing?" And I just responded, "Hey, what are you talking about? I'm following you, I'm seeking you." And it was the Lord, and he just said, "No, you're not." And so I ended up coming back home from that winter camp with this list of things that I could implement and change in my life, so that way my faith was firm and solid in him, and just completely dedicated to him. And so I came home and I started to spend less time on social media, and because of that, my depression started to lift, my anxiety started to kind of fade away. Still struggling with it, but I didn't have panic attacks. I wasn't wanting to not eat anymore. And so he just kind of was faithful in that, as I was faithful to him. And a couple months later, we ended up transitioning to Reliance Church, and I get plugged in there. I get really nervous about it because I'm switching churches again, not really sure how this is going to go. I haven't been in fellowship and connectivity in a new way in a long time, but the Lord was faithful, and he met me there, and he provided me with these new windows and opportunities for friends as I sought him more and more. And so I ended up deciding to go on a mission trip to Panama that summer, and I went down there not knowing anybody on our team, just kind of throwing myself in the mix and struggling with anxiety throughout the trip. And this girl just kind of calls me into the boat with her. I'd already met her, I already knew her a little bit. She calls me to sit with the boat with her, and we're riding through this jungle, and she just kind of asked me about my life and the struggles that I'm going through, and I tell her about my anxiety and the problems I've been dealing with that. She just says, "Hey, have you offered that to the Lord?" And I go, "Obviously I have, obviously I've given it to Jesus." And I thought it through, and I realized that I hadn't, that there were a lot of things that I was holding on, a lot of battles in my mind that I was defining myself by and holding on to. And so I ended up coming back from that trip with this new understanding, not only of how God loves other people because of the things I had seen, but how God loves me and how he desires that I offer him all these things that I hold on to, rather than holding on to these things, because there's nothing greater than who he is. And so from that, fast forward a couple of years, I graduated high school, still struggling with different things, but the Lord being faithful to teach me and show me new things in that. I now get to serve in the junior high ministry at our church, and I get to love on students my age, students who struggle with the things I struggled with, and I just kind of meet them where they are and pour into them. And I get to serve in a church that loves Jesus, and I get to be a vessel for his glory, and all along the way I get to see the Lord kind of speak to me and challenge me and grow me in my faith and in my relationship with him. I get to learn how to seek him wholeheartedly rather than just for what I can get out of a relationship with him. And so that's where I'm at right now. The Lord's totally moving in my life and reshaping me and making me into something new.